I'm Cynthia Rowland, and this is episode 150 of EO Radio Show. Each year, the IRS publishes a dirty dozen list of fraud schemes targeting unsuspecting taxpayers. 7 of the items on the 2026 list, just dropped by the IRS, are of particular interest to nonprofit organizations, their donors, and their professional advisors. Today's episode is a quick highlight of these schemes. A link to the full Dirty Dozen list from the IRS is in the show notes. Welcome to the EO Radio Show, your nonprofit legal resource. Brought to you by the Exempt Organizations Group at Farella, Braun & Martel. My name is Cynthia Rowland, and I'm a partner at Farella. I'm a business and tax lawyer with more than 30 years of experience advising clients on nonprofit and charity law. Through this podcast, our lawyers and guests will discuss a range of legal and business issues impacting the nonprofit world because we understand you work hard every day to make your community a better place to live and do business. Many of our programs focus on the basics, and at times we'll do a deep dive into narrow and complicated legal issues. Again, welcome to the EO Radio Show. We're glad you're here. In today's episode, I'm going to go through 7 of the 2026 Dirty Dozen schemes that the IRS says taxpayers should watch out for. These 7 are of particular importance to nonprofit organizations. First, they point out that there are many schemes out there where fraudsters are impersonating the IRS by email and text. This is also known as phishing and smishing. Scammers send emails, direct messages, and texts that appear to be from the IRS, often using alarming language and QR codes that direct the taxpayer to a fake IRS website to verify the account, enter personal information, or claim refunds. The IRS website urges taxpayers not to click links or open attachments from unexpected messages and to report suspicious IRS-related emails, direct messages, and texts. Last year, the IRS reported over 600 social media impersonators just during the fiscal year 2025. As a reminder, all listeners should know, and it's equally important when thinking about organizational messages, things that come into the charity, things that come into your work email address, never click any unsolicited communication that's claiming to be from the IRS, as it may install malware. These links can install malicious software, including ransomware, on a taxpayer's personal device, potentially preventing access to their files or personal information. Charities are not exempt from these kinds of attacks. We all see them in the news. Just in the past week, we saw some targeting hospital systems. So any nonprofit, no matter how large or how small, is vulnerable. Second area in the Dirty Dozen is AI-enabled IRS impersonation by phone. That is robocalls, voice mimicry, and spoofed caller ID. Phone scams continue to evolve, and they include calls that use computer-generated tactics and spoofed caller IDs to appear legitimate. The IRS wants to remind taxpayers that it generally contacts taxpayers by mail first and does not leave urgent, threatening, pre-recorded messages. It does not include calls to demand immediate payment or to threaten arrest. Taxpayers should not rely on AI-generated responses to complex tax questions, and they should verify any calculations or information provided by artificial intelligence. That last part, that deserves its own special call-out. Many tax professionals are jokingly commenting on social media that AI now provides a quicker, faster way to get bad tax advice. So while everybody wants to use the wonderful AI tools as much as possible, AI-generated responses to tax questions involving nonprofit organizations are not always right. So be very careful using AI-generated information. Third item on the Dirty Dozen list, fake charities. So now we're flipping the attention away from people impersonating the IRS to people impersonating charities. The IRS notes that fraudsters often exploit tragedies and disasters by creating fake charities to collect donations and personal information. The IRS and the state attorneys general are very committed to preventing these fraudulent nonprofits. In fact, it's the state AGs that are the most active in this area. So if you see a fake charity or you think there may be a fake charity, go to your attorney general's office in the state where you see the potential fraud and report what you think to be a fraudulent charity. Okay, next category in the Dirty Dozen. Misleading tax advice on social media. Now, this is another thing that's common. If you see social media, a YouTube video, TikTok video, anything that's a viral sort of tax hack that pushes taxpayers to file returns with false information or claim credits that they don't qualify for, these things are awful. They lead to refund delays, audits, penalties, and worse. The IRS continues to warn taxpayers that social media-driven misinformation and disinformation are a major driver of tax scams. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. They're just much easier to create these things now. The social media is more and more sophisticated, and when combined with AI, it can create a very convincing story for taxpayers looking for something that's too good to be true. Next on our list of the key callouts from the Dirty Dozen is identity theft involving IRS online account access. Criminals may attempt to use stolen personal information to gain unauthorized access to a taxpayer's IRS online account, or in a more frightening approach, may pose as helpers to collect sensitive information during account setup. Nonprofit organizations who are setting up their IRS accounts should create their account directly through irs.gov and should not rely on any unsolicited third parties offering assistance. The IRS does provide official guidance to help taxpayers securely establish and protect their accounts. There is a lot of good information on the irs.gov website to answer many, many frequently asked questions. If setting up or using your irs.gov account is turning out to be difficult, it is much better to seek out your own tax professional, whether an accountant or a lawyer, and ask them to help you rather than to rely on someone who has approached you offering help that you may not know. Number 6 on our list of 7 of the Dirty Dozen that are of particular interest to the nonprofit sector is to pay attention to non-cash charitable contribution schemes. There are schemes out there that involve inflated appraisals of donated property, for example, using syndicated conservation easements or art. Promoters of these schemes often promise to eliminate or substantially reduce a donor's tax liability. It's important, and the IRS lists this as part of the Dirty Dozen, that taxpayers should not file returns with made-up information about art or conservation easements or any other donated item. The IRS actively audits and reviews these sorts of tax schemes. And so a word to the wise, as I mentioned a while ago, if the benefit seems too good to be true and it's based on valuations that are not grounded in reality, it's probably not going to work out well if you claim that tax deduction on your tax return. So that's a word to the wise for supporters and donors to charitable organizations. While the charity may be valid, the contribution of the donated property at an inflated value is not going to hold up, according to the IRS, who thinks this is one of the Dirty Dozen. Okay, final item in our Dirty Dozen review here is a reminder about spear phishing and malware campaigns targeting tax professionals. Tax professionals and businesses remain the targets of new client and document request emails that deliver malicious links and attachments to steal client data or access systems. Business and individuals, not just tax professionals, should always be cautious and look out for any suspicious requests or unusual behavior before sharing any sensitive information or responding to an email. So from the charity's perspective, if your tax professional is hacked, the fraudsters may use the email address of your trusted professional to try to get information from you and access your bank account. So that's where this comes in and is a really important warning to the nonprofit organizations. So warning signs that your trusted professional may have been hacked may include unexpected requests for sensitive information, mismatched or unfamiliar sender addresses. For example, my email address might come into your inbox with something not quite exactly the same as the email address you usually receive an email from. That could be an indicator that I've been hacked. Now, fortunately, we have good controls. At least we think we do. But a word to the wise, you've got to watch out for that. If you get an email, even from a trusted professional, if it has any of these red flags, don't respond to that message. Just call your professional and say, did you really mean to send me this message? So anyway, the red flags there are mismatched or unfamiliar email addresses, urgent payment demands, or links. Links are a particular red flag. Links directing the users to websites that do not clearly originate from irs.gov. Be aware that by gaining access to a hacked email account, the scammers can locate a genuine email from a previous victim's email account that was sent to their tax professional. Those are some pretty daunting schemes and scams to try to keep track of. How do you protect yourself? And what do you do if you get a suspicious message or call? The IRS reminds taxpayers, first of all, don't click unexpected links or open unexpected attachments. If you get a suspicious IRS-related call, hang up. The IRS provides guidance on what to do next, including how to report scams. If you want to report a suspected IRS-related phishing email or message, you can send them to phishing@irs.gov. That's phishing @irs.gov. And there are IRS reporting instructions on the irs.gov website. If you think your tax identity for your organization has been compromised, visit irs.gov/ID theft. That's all one word, ID theft, for steps to protect your account. So that's a quick episode on the 2026 Dirty Dozen tax schemes. I'm Cynthia Rowland, and you've been listening to EO Radio Show, your nonprofit legal resource, brought to you by the Exempt Organizations Group at Farella, Braun & Martel. If you have suggestions for topics you would like for us to discuss, please email us at eoradioshow@fbm.com. That's eoradioshow@fbm.com. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, make a difference.